Welcome to Channel Top Gaming. My name's Aaron, and this is a ranked draft for Ravnica Allegiance. Ravnica Allegiance is an option right now on Arena as well as M20, since WotC started saying that they're going to do the current set for its entire life cycle while it's the current set, and then have rotating standard sets come in too for the first time we have an option. So let's throw up a Ravnica Allegiance draft, just jump right in there. We have drafted quite a bit of it when it came out at first, so might be a little rusty, but we should be familiar with everything still as it comes back to us. So off the bat, Bedevil is an excellent removal spell. Hits just about everything you want, anything that Mortify doesn't, such as Planeswalkers, but it doesn't hit, enchantments. Black-Red is definitely, Rakdos is definitely a playable deck and a good deck. Usually pretty aggro and also thirsty for excellent instant speed removal spells like this, just to keep blockers out of the way, take out the big bomb on the other side of the board. Orzhov Racketeers, I've used some. All of the color pairs in this format really play well with each other. So by that I mean Orzhov is going to be good with Orzhov colors. This with Afterlife and how it has a couple different things going on, even though the body isn't that big, so it doesn't trade as well, especially for a 5-drop. Usually synergizes to make it a pretty good card, but definitely not where you want to start. Just something that's nice if you pick up late after you're already in Orzhov colors. Night of the Last Breath. Doesn't see a lot of play. Sometimes it's the only big finisher you have on a really grindy long deck. And when it gets out, sure, it does some stuff, but 7 drops, pretty ridiculous. This is one of the best 2 drops you can have for Gruul. It does everything you want. Either you just swing in, start attacking immediately if you think you're going to get more value that way, or if you think just a slightly larger creature. Riot's a great mechanic. All of the mechanics introduced for the guilds in this set are just really nice, well balanced. Stalwart, not so much. Selesnya isn't as represented definitely in this as it was, say, in Guilds of Ravnica. Exposed to Daylight, we'll see some play. It comes in really handy, but can often be a dead card. If we were playing best of 3, you always want at least 1 in the sideboard. I will often main deck 1 depending on the deck. Takes care of a lot of things, a lot of different enchantments with pacify effects, a lot of just different enchantments like High Alert. You also have Inheritance, Rhythm of the Wild. There's lots of good enchantments for it to target. Fairy Duelist, I'll play in several different kinds of decks. It's a great 2-drop. It can work as a battle trick too, so it can often get you up a card. Definitely not first pickable. I haven't played a lot of Shimmer in certain decks. If you're really digging for that one big bomb, it can be alright. Transport is alright. It's actually a fairly alright pack all around as far as if we get any of this in the late game, then we're going to be pretty happy. The only thing giving Bedevil a run for its money is, oddly enough, this common. This is the best common by far, and especially green is just really powerful. Simic is very powerful. Those colors in this set. A 2/2 bear for 2 that turns into a 6/6. If you can ramp into it, even earlier than turn 6, later in the game, or if you draw it late in the game and can just activate it either immediately or the next turn, is pretty ridiculous. It makes really difficult situations if the opponent's using removal on your actual larger good cards, or if it uses removal on this, it was only 2 mana, depending on if you'd already adapted or not. Stony Strength sometimes can find its way in for tricks. Arbiter is an excellent in the High Alert deck, High Alert being the enchantment that gives you all of your creatures assign their damage as their toughness instead of their power. So even on its own, the Arbiter is nice as it blocks almost anything and then gets its free damage in with Vigilance, complete package card. But if it's hitting for 5, then that's just it closes out really quick. Footlight Fiend is excellent card, especially of course in its own colors, Rakdos, a lot of good synergies. But really we're looking between Bedevil and Hybrid. And to be honest, Hybrid, I play a lot of Bant and a lot of Simic. Rakdos, I've played a good amount of too, but I find it's harder to get a good deck. You do need some key pieces. Bedevil definitely helps it along the way. But Theater of Horrors comes to mind. You definitely, of course, want to pick up a lot of Blade Jugglers and just the good comments, but you do also need some key pieces to make just the whole thing work as far as Rakdos. Whereas we're a lot freer and open if we pick Hybrid. Goblin would be consideration, but you just really hate to pick a 2-color gold card, or more. Just for your first pick, it really closes off. It's a good chance that you're either going to try and force Gruul that isn't open, or maybe go into Teamer, or possibly not even use this card if that's not what you see for the rest. I think we, especially since we're the free-to-play account, we should just take the rare. It's very playable, it's very doable. We just really narrow whether or not it makes the deck or not. Just all depends on if we see Rakdos cards as our best cards moving forward. Alright, in this deck, in this pack, Eyes Everywhere is a good card. I was much higher on it early on in the set just because anything that draws you cards or scries, which is kind of like drawing a half a card, is great since you're trying to figure out your deck. Everybody's trying to figure out what is the good deck to build or build around or go for or look for. And so this was really handy. It's fallen off quite a bit though as the different archetypes really came into their own and you ended up playing cards that went more into that archetype deck than just a general help draw. Vindictive Vampire, I think in the Orzhov deck is probably its most natural home. You can play in Rakdos for sure, especially if you pick up like a Judith or some other ways. Celebrant, well, at that point you'd be Mardu, but all the same, if you have different ways to trigger this ability, then it's pretty good. If not, then it's just, it's okay. Daggercaster definitely could go in a Rakdos deck if that's what we look at. It synergizes well with Bladebrand, which gives a creature death touch. So you play this, and then while its trigger is on the stack, you go into full control mode, and then make sure you get down your Bladebrand before the trigger resolves, and then Daggercaster does its 1 point of damage with death touch attached to it. Essentially, I don't think there's any indestructible creatures in this format, so essentially wiping one-sided, asymmetrical wiping the board for all the opponent's creatures. Pretty sweet. Takes a lot of setup though. You have to have 6 mana up. Rakdos is usually a 16, or maybe even, if you're lean enough, a 15 card deck. Land deck, excuse me. Nothing too exciting. Another stalwart. Pexus can see play if you're really trying to get the high alert deck, or you already have a high alert and you're going to be a high alert deck because it turns into a 3/3 flyer, which is great. Savant can find its way into several different decks that play blue. Depends on if you need a playable. It's decent enough in the early game. You can make sure your turn 4, turn 5, you're either getting mana, or if you already have enough mana, you're putting that on the bottom of your deck. And then it trades decently enough with most 2-drops. Late in the game, you get the scry, so you can just get any land out of the way, and it maybe doesn't trade as well, but at least has some value. So it can be playable for sure. Not much else. Final Payment is great. It can go either into an Esper control deck, or just an Orzhov deck straight up. Sacrificing creatures no problem if you're getting afterlife creatures, or you already have an afterlife token that you can sacrifice, especially at instant speed. Thrall's great. Thrall you can play a ton of copies of in any deck that can support the colors, and it always comes down, rebalances the life a little bit, and gives you that 3/3 flyer, which is just about the right power and flying especially to be able to deal with things that are in the sky, or just start punching in, finish off the game. So that said, there isn't a lot. It's kind of a weak pack. If we want to sort of hedge our bet and maybe we just splash red, we can pick up Final Payment or Thrall, which is, I think, better than going Daggercaster and just hoping that we pick up a Bladebrand along the way and try and stay quote-unquote pure Rakdos. Because even though it is a pretty good card, it's more when we see that's where the deck's going, whereas these are much more powerful cards, and we can still splash the Bedevil and, you know, God forbid, maybe not even play it. Final Payment does synergize better in an Orzhov deck, which means we're kind of committing more to splashing red versus open to Rakdos, whereas Thrall can kind of go in either. It can be splashed into a Rakdos with not a lot of drawback, and then clearly played in an Orzhov. Skatewing Spy is great. If we had gone with Soreform Hybrid as our pick 1, then we probably would have picked, oh, I don't even remember out of pack 2, but I'm sure we would have gone along with the theme, and this is really nice in Simic and in Bant, which is if we included white into the green and blue, because there's a lot of different ways to put counters on things. Adapt, of course, which what's better than a Soreform Hybrid? 6/6 is when it flies as well, and it actually gives it without even needing to attack or have adapted itself. So really strong play. Definitely not where our colors are though right now. Same Goblin, same problems. Frilled Mystic would have been in contention probably with Skatewing Spy if we had gone down that other route. It's excellent. If you can get, and usually you can get, a Wilderness Reclamation, then Frilled Mystic, of course, pairs great. You play your Reclamation on turn 4, it untaps all your mana, and now you have a Frilled Mystic. Absolutely great. But you can also start synergizing. You're not going to get a ton of Frilled Mystics, and you don't want to play more than 2 really Reclamation, and that's if you have a lot of synergies, a lot of adapt creatures, because then you can use the mana that gets untapped by Reclamation to adapt as well, and then, well, now you're just really synergizing. Again, though, nowhere near our colors that we have here, but we do see a Blade Brand, so, a little ironic that we passed up on the Daggercaster, but we still might pick up one. And again, it's a kind of, it's nice to have the combo in your back pocket, but it's a little tough to pull off. Transport, we're not there, even though it's possible we play one. Inheritance, this is a pretty controversial card. At the beginning of when the set was released, it grew in popularity quickly and was overplayed in a lot of control decks, when really it's best at home in an aggro deck. You can think of it as the Lava Axe, you know, that finishes off that last little bit of reach you need for the opponent. After you've played out a bunch of your small creatures and everything else, and maybe you have some removal coming, you plop this down with a board state already in place, and then it just puts that extra little edge of clock on and can end up, you know, winning you the game a couple turns later. What you don't want to do is put it down and then just count on it grinding the entire life total down and then finishing it off. I mean, it's possible, but if you're in one of those grindier decks, like a Clear the Mind deck, if you're familiar with that archetype, or an Esper control, then you want to be winning through other value engines, and Inheritance generally can just kind of mess up your flow and make it so that you actually give an opening for the opponent to stabilize and or pull ahead. For Orzhov, there's nothing. So for Rakdos, there's this entire center row, or we can try and go completely off and take Skatewing Spy, but that's really ignoring our first 2 picks, which I don't think that's powerful enough to bend us in that direction. So really we're looking at a Blade Brand, an Ill-Gotten Inheritance. The Spewer is real. It's only very effective though when we're triggering Spectacle, which is the Rakdos mechanic, so we can cast cards for cheaper. It's really its only reason to be in any deck. Considering that we're going towards that deck, it's a consideration, but I think I'd even take an Acrobat before I take the first Spewer in a deck that doesn't have any Spectacle yet. But looking at what we're looking at here, Blade Brand is good, but I kind of feel like, I don't know, if we take our first Inheritance now, we're definitely going for a faster Orzhov or Rakdos deck. That's where we're already at. Versus the Blade Brand, we generally will not begrudgingly play, but maybe we see more of and we don't miss as much as we'd miss this Inheritance. So we'll go ahead and take Inheritance, see where that goes for us. All right. 10-3 Dodger can be a great way to also activate Trigger Spectacle, as you can just get in for that 1 point of unblocked damage. That said, not terribly exciting. Crusher is okay. It can go in a mid-rangey Simic deck with enough counters to actually make it usable, since it can use its ability at instant speed. You know, it's all right. Rester's Zeal you don't see too much of. We talked about Sage's Row. Dead Rebels is excellent and likely the card we're gonna pick, since it's great, since we'll probably be trading off a lot of creatures, or if we pick up some final payments, using those to pay for, and then we'll want to get those back. And since we'll generally be triggering Spectacle, you know, to play it on the cheap and get out one of those creatures you just picked back up, is pretty great. Burn Bright is alright if you have the Goblin token generating spell, where you generate more tokens based on how many copies you have of that spell in the graveyard already, one of those types. And then you can also play it with the Calamity. The 2 mana, you can play it with the 2 mana enchantment, Calamity something, that triggers when 1 power creatures attack. And then just put that in for a nice little boost at the end. We're not there yet, but it's something to look at. Storm Strike's sometimes playable, nothing special. Root Snare, I don't know if it has any home. We'd definitely be windmill slamming this other hybrid if we had gone a different route with this draft. And what you can see is why we are actually kind of debating between, even though this was a common and we ended up picking up a great rare, it was a real kind of back and forth. It was a toss-up decision. And we would have been fairly rewarded. 2 Soarform hybrids and the Skyweek Spy, and I'm not sure what else we would have picked, but que sera. This is fine still. We're going to take this Dead Revels. And we still have the good starts. We just kind of need the bones of the deck to come together. Code of Constraint, along with Arrester's Admonition, which is kind of its cousin card in the set, are good tempo control-y cards. They can go into a more controlling deck, or they can go into a more aggro tempo deck if you're looking at that with Simic. So instead of waiting to adapt and build up some big creatures and have bigger spells, you ended up picking up more creatures and tempo-y cards like this to allow constant damage, and then adapting on the fly to make your creatures that you've been already beating them in the face with even harder to deal with. So between the Code of Constraint, though, and Arrester's Admonition, I kind of like Arrester's Admonition better, because it gives you the bounce and draw, whereas you always draw the card here, but you're either using it hopefully as a battle trick, in which case it's, you know, just as good, if not better, you're removing a creature. But if that instance doesn't happen and you just use it to tap down a creature for a full turn, then that's okay, but not as good as, I think, bouncing and causing them to replay and use that mana again. But I mean, that's just splitting hairs. It's definitely not our colors. Gruul Beastmaster, I don't think it's very good, even in maybe some Gruul decks. But even then, usually it's getting one good swing in, and that's about it. I will say, though, so if we had a Skatewing Spy, playing that kind of deck, you put a counter on it with Riot, it attacks in the air and gives its boost. All right, now we're talking. But it's more build-aroundy. Again, in that alternate reality, there's a chance we would have taken this, but probably would have taken Constraint. For us in our deck that we are currently building, we have a Consign to the Pit, which is, if you gotta play one kind of card. The deck that I'm trying to push us towards is setting up for a much more aggressive style. So if we make it all the way to be able to cast one of these, then we're probably not doing what our deck wanted to do in the first place. Undercity's Embrace is, again, if you need a playable and maybe you're playing a more control deck, it can have its moments where you're flashing, or rather, playing it at instant speed and getting a big creature after you've kept a pretty clean and tidy board. If not, then they're mostly just getting to pick off their dinkiest creature, and you're sort of dissatisfied because you're probably trying to take care of their larger creature. That's filler if you're in red. This is likely the card we're going to take, but now I'm really trying to force us into a Rakdos deck that needs Spectacle and like uses Spectacle, which isn't great since, you know, we have some connective tissue, but we need some bones and some playables for that deck type. Let's just be optimistic. Take the Spewer. Hope we get there. Bankrupt in Blood. I think there's a few synergies it has, but generally speaking, this is more for outside constructed card. Wow, hurts my heart. Hurts my heart to see this hybrid. I don't think we can pick up something that's actually playable in our deck. Even though this roustabout's nothing special, but you know, if you don't have any creatures and you're trying to be Rakdos, it's a playable. Oh man, so we'll take the roustabout, but I'm feeling real weird about the green deck that's being assembled on the side. Alright, in this case, we're going to take the consign. We've talked about most of these. Tower Defense is the reason to go into Bant if you're doing a high alert deck. There's plenty of good green cards too, but this is the real reason. Being able to instant speed. If you have the high alert, again, the enchantment that gives your creatures the ability to deal damage according to their toughness and not to their power, then you're pumping each creature up +5/+5 at instant speed, so it can close out games ridiculously quick. We're going to take the consign to the pits, just try to play with the cards that are being given to us. Burn Bright's consideration, but again, we're just nowhere near. We have no idea what kind of creatures we're going to be able to use. And consign to the pit might actually find its way into this deck, whatever it's going to look like. Alright, a little bit of payoff finally for our colors. Pitiless Pontiff is playable. We need more afterlife creatures and generally creatures that we can sacrifice to make this a threat to activate, either when attacking in so we can get in without having to activate it, but follow through with the threat if we need to, or just of course to be an indestructible death touching blocker. If Pontiff wasn't in here, it's a decent enough pack for us. We would take this Rakdos. It's a good 2-drop, pumps up late, forces awkward trades, can really get a blowout with it if you have a Blade Brand as well. And if neither of them are here, then we'd take this Roustabout. But we're still seeing like decent playable Simic cards. We would have had quite the Simic deck. I'll try to stop bemoaning it. Try to put it out of our head. There's so many strong signals came our way though. Alright. So here it feels like, you know, oh okay, Recluse, pretty good. You do see him kind of late. We will play one if we get another one, but we need some small, fast aggro creatures. So we're going to take this Fiend. We absolutely wouldn't mind this Guildgate, since now we're just this mishmash of Mardu, and we're going to need some amount of fixing. But it's really a closer pick between fixing and an early creature, but we just really need these early creatures right now. And we're getting pretty late pack 1, so we'll be happy to get anything such as this Wheeled Final Payment. This is, I believe, the same pack that our Thrall came out of, so that's pretty awesome. Alright, we're getting a little love on our back wheels. Not too bad. We're going to take the Blade Brand. Blade Brand, even though the creature seems like a better bet at this moment, we still definitely need creatures. Blade Brand plays so well with Footlight Fiend. You can get a great, essentially 2 for 2, but you go up a card, so 2 for 1 still. By blocking, giving it Death Touch to whatever it's hitting, and then the damage it deals also has Death Touch attached to it, so you can kill another large creature. Pretty nice. Alright, we're getting closer to Burn Bright territory, but again, I feel we're going to be able to pick up the one that we would play anyway later when it's more feasible, and this is just another fast creature. And I feel a little better about where we're at. Wow, we might actually want to grab this as a 2-drop. We're never going to play more than one consign if we even do play the one we do have. You've already heard me talk about the Embrace. I don't think it's worth it. Hopefully we'll have enough other quality removal. And I don't even want to play this 2-drop, but we'll see what happens. seen Rubble Reading played seemingly effectively in certain decks. Even decks sort of like this, where we're getting out early enough and we're going to have smaller things that we don't mind spending our turn 4 to put back an opponent that hopefully stumbled on lands, so it really puts them back to maybe 2 lands. But I just don't see it. Give me a good removal spell, please, instead. But we're not going to play another consign, so we'll put this in sideboard for who knows what. I feel we were able to salvage a decent amount of playable cards from our first pack, especially with those last picks. That it's a Mardu deck that's kind of coming together. We want to make it a little more focused and thin, and we absolutely have to pick up some gates to make sure we're fixing gets correct. And we won't talk about the Simic Bant deck that might have been anymore. Alright, Spire Mangler's nothing special, but it can be effectively a kill for toughness creature, barring any tricks, since you can flash it out, give it its own ability, enter the battlefield ability, and then block. Gates Ablaze is definitely just one of the more powerful cards in the set, period, but of course you really do need to be stronger into Teamer is where I found this to be the best for gates, because you're getting some ramp, getting some growth, some larger stuff, and all of the reasons to play the gates. There's of course other great payoffs. They did balance that part out at least. Gate Colossuses were ridiculously easy to pick up in the earlier versions before the bots started picking them. Iterations of the draft software. And so just full-on gate decks were absolutely ridiculous. But there's no other things in this color that gates want / gates slow down faster aggro decks, which is what we're super trying to hopefully pick up here. And to be honest, there isn't much else for us here. We might not even play this first inheritance if we don't get lean in fast enough. We already have a Spewer, and to be honest, not enough payoffs as far as spectacle cost goes. Again, we may end up playing a transport depending on what this deck looks like, but really the Mangler, though doesn't feel great to pick one pack to it, it's where we at for our cards. Alright, finally a good card, just even a common, but it's definitely a great card, is Juggler. We hope to pick up 3 or 4 Jugglers and push out some of these other not exciting cards. It's how we keep the flow coming as we play these smaller creatures. We're eventually going to get outclassed and outpowered, so we need to keep the pressure on by continually drawing more cards and playing more threats. Juggler hits, checks all those boxes for us for sure. Angel, one of the only other gate payoffs that would even find its way somehow into a deck such as ours, but again, we're not really trying to lean on white. We have our splashes, which we need about 2 gates to be able to feel good about splashing. Hopefully don't have to pick up a Plaza for, even though, I mean, a Plaza is nice, it's a tri-land. It's an even further hamstring against our mana if we're trying to be speedy. But really behind the Juggler, we would take this final payment, and if we had to, the Plaza. And even though Scavenger is a good card, we would want the mana fixing first, but then it would go Scavenger, and then I guess Inheritance. But yeah, not so bad. Rumbling Ruin's good in a Teamer style deck where you have a lot of counters out. It can be a finisher. You just play and swing. Acrobat is likely going to be our pick. It's great. It can be spectacled out. It's not that bad if it isn't. It's nice if it can be. And it's just a real tricky card to deal with for the opponent. If they don't have any direct removal, then they're trading generally a more expensive card for us to death touch, or if they allow it through because they only have 2/2s to block with and they don't just want to give up their creature, then on the fly we get to make it into a 4/1 and hit them for 4. So it's a pretty good card. Definitely goes, we'd take 2 or 3 of these 2 in a deck like we're trying to put together. Twilight Panther seems like it would be alright in this deck. It's a small creature, we're trying to play Mardu colors, but how often are we going to get it down on turn 1? And sure, if we don't get it down until turn 4 or 5, maybe that's okay. Maybe, you know, if we're kind of at a stalemate, but for a splash color, you just really don't want to play a small 1-drop for it. That said, there's not a lot else. If there wasn't a Acrobat, we probably would be taking this Panther. Lockets are good. They do help fix to a certain degree. But again, since we're trying to be a little quicker, they fit definitely more into a mid-range or even late game, but they are playable. They were definitely crutches when everyone was figuring out how and what archetypes, and being able to splash easier and then turn it into 2 cards later, even for 4 mana. It's pretty good. Alright, we'll go ahead and take our Acrobat. And we're feeling better. I won't say we're feeling great, but we're feeling better about our deck. Alright, so Cavalcade of Calamity, which is the card I was trying to think of earlier, is a card that can go in this type of deck. What we don't have is the Goblin Gathering spell, which creates 2 tokens and then an additional token for each copy of Goblin Gathering in your graveyard. If you can get 3 or 4 of those in a deck, then you're making a ton of goblins, which in their own right is pretty good, but then if you pile on, of course, a Cavalcade of Calamity, you can see where you go from there. That said, I don't think we are that deck, at least not yet, and probably not. We haven't seen any Goblin Gatherings, but even then, we haven't seen that many 1-power, and we don't have enough Blade Brands to sort of back that up, because that's another way you get around with losing a lot of 1/1s by constantly being aggressive and attacking, is making them trade for larger creatures with your Blade Brands and keeping cards in hand. While that's fun, we just don't have the equipment set up for it. Carrion Imp is alright. It gets in in the air. You can exile sometimes a card against a deck that has recursion, which is nice. Get a little life. It was a little higher on it earlier in the set. It's okay now. It may be what we take, because I don't think that we're set up for multiple inheritances. If we get to turn 4, turn 5, and we're playing this and we're not able to attack, or we needed to use that mana to remove, so we're not playing it turn 5 and turn 6, then we're just not being very effective with the card. And we already have one that we might play, but I just don't see us probably playing 2 at this point, unless we just pick up a lot of earlier cards and all of a sudden 2 Ill-Gotten Inheritances and possibly a Grasping Thrall are our top end in a 16-land deck. And I guess we can talk about Raptor Demon really quick. It's a 4-mana, 4/2, so not great stats, that you can Spectacle for more mana, which is, I think, the only card that you Spectacle out for more mana than its actual cost. And then each opponent discards a card. Really wide variance on how effective that would be. You're playing it turn 5 soonest, and maybe you can still get a pretty good card. Possibly they just toss a land or a crap card anyway, or they have an empty hand, plus now you're just left with a pretty easily blocked and killed creature that took a lot of your mana. So I'm not sure. Just a bad card. Yeah, Carrion Imp, and hope we keep seeing some good payoffs. Guildmage is one of those payoffs. I wouldn't say it's an amazing card. It's definitely slower. It can trigger Spectacle, of course, which is nice. And then often, if you run out of cards to play yourselves, we can dump mana into it to keep the opponent's hand nice and clear. You really only need to activate its ability once and get a good card to pay it off. 2 cards in general probably paid it off. And it's still a 2/2 for 2. Other than that, nothing much. We've talked about most of these. So, man, we would have so many hybrids. Don't think about it. There are versions of Esper that are mill. Thought Collapses, which is the counter that puts 3 cards also from that player's deck into, or library, into their graveyard. Along with these Petitioners, along with the Mask, which we actually saw earlier but I didn't talk about, which is an equipment that can also mill the top 3 cards. Mill is definitely a real way to kill with the Esper, or even Bant, if I'm thinking about it. I've had decks where Petitioners were hanging out with the Shield as sort of a sub-mill theme, maybe a Thought Collapse or 2, but it was in a high alert deck, because those all also give synergies as far as this turns into a 3/3 when it attacks and blocks. If you have the shield on it, I think it's +0/+3, so it's actually +3/+3 for the shield if you have a High Alert out, as well as that sub-theme of milling. So there's fun shenanigans. Definitely not what we're doing this time around. It bears saying that Courier clearly also goes in the High Alert deck. Skittering Eel is a good card. If you're in those colors, it's not great, but it's good just because the difference between a 4/4 and a 5/5 in this format is pretty significant. Definitely does a lot for you. Used to play a lot more crocodiles, so good at blocking, especially Sword Form hybrids that have been adapted. But eventually, the slower black deck is more of a controlling deck. You're usually an Esper, and at that point, you don't care about dealing with creatures with other awkward creatures. You just blow them up and then clear the mind, get your cards back, and grind the opponent out that way. And then, yeah, just nothing else much in general. So good thing that there was at least one saving card for us in here. Okay. Nothing too crazy. We're going to take this Guildgate. Like I said, we still need fixing. We'd love to see one, if not really two, Orzhov gates along with this Rakdos Guildgate, and then I'd feel okay about our mana base. As it stands, it's going to be a little rocky and a little rough, and I still don't even know what our deck's really... right now, we just have Mardu color pile with just not a lot going on for it. And we're not going to think about that Bant deck. But Infiltrator is not unwelcome in a deck that has a lot of afterlife effects, things that can be sacrificed for a good combo effect. It can finish out if you have 2 or 3 creatures, especially if you have, say, an afterlife that you can sacrifice the token again the next turn, then you get in for a lot of unblockable damage, and that can be a way an aggressive deck can actually win. The Vampire is playable. It's easily dealt with, but if it isn't dealt with, then you just need to swing 2 or 3 times, and you're really flying pretty high with it. We talked about Scavenger, I guess briefly, but again, you need something to sacrifice. If you do, the value is pretty good, and it goes to a 5/5, which is again, more than just what it meets the eye as far as better than a 4/4. Nothing else much, just a bunch of filler, not truly playables. Senate Griffin seems like it's more playable than it is, and depending on the deck, if you have a lot of flying support, maybe it definitely is, but it's too easily blocked and not a good enough blocker on the other side for the mana cost that usually if you're in there, you want the 2/3 flyer with 1 afterlife, whose name escapes me at the moment. But let's grab our Guildgate. If the Guildgate wasn't here, there's a good chance, actually, I mean, yeah, we would just take the Infiltrator, even though we don't have a lot of Orzhov synergy set up yet. We're still trying to be aspirational, even though we're most of the way, 2/3 of the way through pack 2. Right. Well, despite what I said about a Locket being too slow for our deck, who knows what our deck really is trying to do, and the fixing might come in handier. We've seen plenty of Scavengers. We probably have a chance to pick up one if we want. And again, we just don't have enough good stuff to sack to different effects of that nature yet. And I mean, we already have a final payment to support. Our deck has demands. I will say, when you're thinking about a Locket to help with splashing, make sure you always pick a Locket that has the splash color, not the base colors, because you're still getting 1 base color, but you definitely want that as the splash color. And if Locket wasn't here, I guess it'd be a toss-up between Vampire and Scavenger. All of this, though, is not the best. Not exactly what we want to be doing. Alright, well, there is a little payoff. Imperious Oligarch does a lot of the things we've been talking about. It's going to be hard for us to cast a lot of our gold cards on turn 2 or 3 like we want to. Hopefully, again, we still pick up some gates for fixing. But this does help. It's final payment fuel. If we end up having other sacrifice synergies, it's a pretty good candidate. Plus, it attacks and blocks well. A lot of people don't want to trade off, so you'll get in an attack or 2 before you either have to keep it back to block, or they just get sick and tired and trade off with it, and you still have an afterlife token. If Grandma Oligarch wasn't here, though, we would definitely take the Plague White. Excellent aggro attacker, just really hard to block. you're either going to trade off, you know, a 3 toughness creature with it, which generally is going to be, you know, a 3 mana or greater creature, or it just eats 2/2s or anything that doesn't trade, you know, a 3/2, or excuse me, it trades with a 2/2, but it eats a 1/2. But overall, if you just relentlessly attack with it, you're either going to be happy with the trade or get in a lot of damage. Grudian would be right behind it. It's great, but it's great in a slower, more like some Esper decks will play this as just trade off cards while they're trying to assemble all of the mana and all of the card advantage, as it trades off with, of course, just about anything. Worth mentioning, this is actually a decent late pack, just not a lot of the colors that we're in. Rester's Admonition. This is very late in Admonition. This is the card we were talking about earlier. It's excellent. Watchdog's okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a high alert deck, but if it is, then of course it turns into a 3/3 attacker, which is great. If not, it can still just be a great blocker, turn 1, and then save your best creature later on in the game. So it's definitely playable. Alright, good. Summary Judgment. This is one of the best removal in this set, and especially in our colors. We do already have some removal. We weren't like hungry for it, but it's a very welcome addition. Forbidding Spirits, fine. I think people were higher on it earlier in the format, but now, you know, it's a 3/3 for 3. That's fine. It, you know, holds back attackers mostly, you know, at least half the time, if not maybe a little more than half the time, for 1 turn. So that's nice. But it's not that exciting. And it is it's worth pointing out that it's double white too, which makes it a little harder to cast an okay card. Usually you don't see it played that much. There's Thought Collapse, which we talked about earlier. Doesn't have to go in a mill deck, but of course very clearly does belong in one if you're playing a mill deck. And we've talked about most of the rest of these. Alright, we're getting some decent picks late, which is interesting. We haven't talked about Wall yet. That's the other part of the mill deck I didn't even think about, but if you add Rester's Admonition, a Wall of Lost Thoughts back to your hand, you get to draw a card, replay the wall, now you've milled another 4 cards. As you can see, mill can even be a sub-theme, like I said, in a deck like Bant, because this goes in a high alert deck too. It turns into a 4/4 attacker. Just a lot of good uses for it, but not the colors we're in. Even though we have splashed white, we have 1 gate, we hope to get more, I still don't think that this is the right pick for us. Any of these could actually go in our deck except for Wall of Lost Thoughts. Should they, though, is the question. We definitely didn't pick up a lean and fast enough deck, at least still not yet, to warrant a second inheritance. You keep seeing these scavengers kicked around. There's a 2-drop we don't want to play. In fact, I think we don't even have to play the one we picked up now, so that's nice. So yeah, clearly we're just going to take the final payment. We still don't have a ton of creatures that we're really comfortable sacrificing, but quite often you're just playing this into, you have a naked board, but they're attacking with a 3/3. At that point, you're kind of already going to pay that 3 life one way or the other, so now you're paying 2 life to just cast it and get rid of the creature. Not a safe way to think about playing it all the time, but it just shows it's even more powerful. And there's plenty of enchantments. There's a couple really big enchantments, like Ethereal Absolution being one of, if not the best card to open pick 1, pack 1. Super grindy control, really good deck to have that in. And so you can destroy that enchantment, or if you have an enchantment out that you don't want, just a very flexible card. Here's the shield we were talking about. So yeah, it gives +0, +3, helps mill, goes well in a high alert deck. Zeal, I mean, it's possible we're supposed to play that in this deck to help with our small creatures, but I don't want to, and I'm not going to. Panther seems maybe a little more reasonable to play now that we have more white cards. And I think I definitely like it under City's Embrace, so we'll pick 1 up. Still not sure if we actually play it. Don't really want to splash again or 1-drop. But how much splash is it now? I mean, really. Not the Guild Gate we wanted. I doubt we play a Calamity, but we'll pick it up. Especially when everything seems about equally unplayable. It's not going to make the deck. You know, always try and grab the higher rarity cards. Just help fill that vault incrementally a little more, a little more. Same difference here. These cards don't matter. Oh wow, we wield the Infiltrator, so don't know if it makes the deck, but we'll throw it on the pile along with this Vampire. See what we dig out once we're done. Oh man, they're giving us just real fits here. So now we want like 4 cards out of this pack. Rick's Mighty Reveler, we might end up taking, not only because it's rare, but because it goes in this deck. It's a 2/2 for 2, so it's just a bear if you need to get out a card and start attacking, which is ostensibly what you want in an aggro deck. And then the Spectacle cost, this is probably the only other card that has a higher Spectacle cost, but it actually has a lot higher and a greater payoff. So once you've dumped your hand as an aggro deck, one of the biggest sticking points is refilling it. So even if you get to turn 4 and you play your land and you still have maybe 1 card, say it's another land in hand that you don't want, or maybe just something else that isn't relevant at that exact point, you Spectacle out the Reveler, throw away whatever is left in your hand, draw 3 new cards, which is pretty powerful, and you're reloaded and ready to continue with your aggro plan. So better in aggro, but not absolutely worthless in any other decks. Just a pretty good card in our colors for the mechanic we're trying to maybe abuse. Racketeers, clearly the card that we opened in our pack 1 that we didn't pick. I don't know if we're supposed to be really giving this serious consideration here. How slow has our deck gotten? The answer looks pretty slow, and so I think we need to do a little bit of weeding out. So what are we sure we want to play? Well, that really depends on how many synergies for what. So we're sure we want to play our removal. We do know that. It looks like we picked up enough white removal that we are definitely playing white, and if we're definitely playing white, then we're definitely playing this Thrall, the Oligarch, Pontiff. I mean, we just picked up too much white. So if anything, we're maybe splashing red. In fact, now that we're really looking at it, it really looks like we're splashing red, and we've moved more into Orzhov. So let's move out our maybe not as exciting red cards that went more into a spectacle-inducing deck. Doesn't mean they're staying there, but they're there for the moment. Especially since the only Gilgit we have is a red Rakdos. So these still play in an Orzhov deck, these still play in an Orzhov deck. This maybe not, so we're going to stick this over here as one of our splash color cards. Infiltrator kind of goes. We still don't have a comfortable enough amount of Afterlife or smaller creature cards that we could feed to the Infiltrator. And if it blocks and can take out a 3 toughness creature, then great. If not, we're sort of really relying on it to be our finisher using its ability. That would lean us towards maybe doing Orzhov Racketeers. We don't see a profitable attack for the Racketeers to either trade off profitably or hit to be able to do its effect, then we can still eat it, put 2 Afterlife tokens into play. Climate Shaman goes in a nice Gruul aggro deck. Mortify is hand in hand with Bedevil. In fact, probably even more so, the best removal. Just instant speed. In limited especially, you're usually trying to blow up a really good creature that's, you know, going to kill you in a turn or 2, or maybe it's just locking down the board, or an enchantment that's locking up one of your creatures, or like Ethereal Absolution is just locking down the board. More so than you're going to find targets for planeswalkers in this set. So really Bedevil is still a great card, but it's mostly creature removal. I'm trying to think, there's probably some artifacts. And then possibly if your opponent was lucky enough to pull a planeswalker that's playable, you're going to hit it with that. But more often than not, you're liking the Mortify better. Let's continue. Our red splashes, I think. Let's not move it out, but let's move it over. And I think we have enough. We're definitely going to want to splash red. Our locket actually became not the splash color. And it's good to know we have a vampire, but we don't necessarily want to play it. We'll stick it to the side for now. Carrion Imp is another shrug-worthy card. I'm going to put... Here, we'll stick it with the consign. Both of these need to be looked at as far as our final build and if they need to be played. I'm going to go actually ahead and say with final payments, a likely splashed Bedevil and Mortify possibly on deck. Consign probably isn't making our deck. Here, let's just keep this straight. It's just good to keep in mind that we're not really counting on this inheritance right now. I don't think we got fast enough. Revels definitely plays well with a lot of these different sack effects or just trading off like we might be doing a lot with the Spire Mingler. Green Up's pretty medium meh, doesn't necessarily need to be there. Blade Juggler will actually move up to its spectacle cost since generally that's where we're going to be playing it at. And then Grasping Throw is just a good card. So now we look and we see some creatures. We could still use some early creatures, especially since we were kind of hungry for sack effects. Blade Brand's fine. Some good removal. And then not too much to get excited about from there. I'd say our removal's good enough that we can actually pass up this Mortify and really consider, and it bears mentioning too, there's a Blood Juggler here, and if it weren't for these two, a rare and an uncommon that go in this deck and for power level's sake are likely going to be between those two picks, Blade Juggler would be right there, and it's not even that far behind, so it's under consideration. We haven't seen a lot of Mage's Binding, I don't think yet, or at least haven't talked about it, especially in, again, Bant, Azorius colors, Esper colors. It's just one of the best removal. Instant speed. You can even shut down things like Guild Mages, because then they can't use their special abilities, which often if you use a Pacify enchantment effect, they still have access to activated abilities. Not so with Mage's Binding, plus Flash Effect really makes it nice for flexibility-wise. I believe we've talked about most of the rest of this. Guildgate, if right now it's between these two cards, followed super closely by Juggler, and really Mortify would be in the conversation if we didn't have removal covered so well. And Guildgate is almost tied with Blade Juggler just because we need it to be able to play a lot of our cards. So we still hope to, if not see one, just wheel it. That'd be great. But back to our real pick. So the Reveler, it's pretty on theme. It does refill our hand. Just trying to think how likely we're going to have larger cards that we don't want to throw away, and so we end up holding on to our Reveler much later than we usually would. I guess the fact that even if we don't play it for spectacle cost, then we get to rummage isn't the worst. Probably better than a larger, clunkier 5-drop, even though this has a lot of good synergies. That's just what holds it back. Its body versus its mana cost means later in the game it could just not be enough for us. Whereas we're trying to press our advantage early in the game, this is definitely better. Splashing this red's going to be a tricky pick. Right now, we put our splash in. We're looking like this, with the possibility that Guild Mage and Hackerbat might not make it if we don't get any more fixing. So do we want to double down with the Reveler? Because now I'm second guessing possibly getting the Mortify, just because if you have all the removal, then you can kill them with just the one Grasping Thrall. Oh man, decisions. Alright, let's be optimistic and take the Reveler. It's going to give us the best chance at winning some of these games, because we're really going to need the body and the card draw. Whereas it's possible to get removal flooded and not have enough threats. Alright, that's a tough one. Let's see, Exaltation, definitely playable in many different decks that play white. Sentinel's Mark, again, pretty playable. Definitely increases in value in a high alert style deck. Some general high alerts. I don't know if we've seen a Clear the Mind yet, but this is the titular Clear the Mind from a Clear the Mind deck, where you play generally Esper colors and a lot of spells and grindy and death touch creatures and just trade and just constantly try and trade cards with the opponent while you usually draw extra cards and then eventually clear the mind, putting all of your action back into your deck, but now having thinned most of the mana out from it, and then have all of that card advantage again too, and just grind out the game that way. It's definitely one of the main archetypes, and more skillful archetypes in the format. We talked about Saints Row Savant, and this is what we'll be taking, Grotesque Demise. Just one of the better black removal cards, period. Instant speed, exiles the creature, easy peasy, and makes me feel better about not taking that Mortify, because now if we had taken the Mortify and we're just overloaded with removal, we don't have many other good cards. Wouldn't really want to take a pretty mediocre red common, and we're not really an active treason deck. I mean, we're kind of, but there's no other sacrifice outlets besides Infiltrator, which wouldn't work. Or, I mean, it would work, but then we wouldn't get to swing with that creature. Doesn't matter. We're not playing it. So, yep, Grotesque Demise. And closing in on the end of our deck, we really want to see some pretty good cards. There's a couple picks for us in this pack, so we really need to decide. We really need that Guildgate. So, to be honest, right now, it's pretty hard to play, I'd say, either of those without further splash fixing. And both of these kind of make it an on power level and a little hope and a prayer with our mana, which means I don't really feel comfortable picking up another gold card, even though this is alright and sort of fits in with our theme. Again, we don't have a lot of great creatures that we'd want to sacrifice, and we'd run out more often than not, but it's a little bit more reach. Haste isn't a bad thing if you can get it in turn 2, turn 3. But given our mana base problems, we're going to be looking more towards either Dead Revels or Summary Judgment, and since we just picked up even more removal, I think we're going to want 2 Dead Revels in this deck so that we can use our final payments without worrying about it, trade off our Footlight Fiend Blade brands. Yeah, and just in general try and use the recursive grindy value, because right now this is looking like a pretty stitched together deck that could still use a Guildgate. Who knows what that Bant deck would have looked like, who knows. Alright, so Dead Revels. There's the High Alert that we've been talking about. I don't know if the Bant deck that could have been would have been a High Alert deck, maybe. But it's definitely the first High Alert we would have seen if we'd gone that route, so. And if you're not familiar, it's what we've been saying. Toughness is used instead of power for combat. It does also have the quote-unquote hidden mode, because a lot of people forget you can untap a creature, which in the middle of combat can be pretty tricky if someone's not expecting it. The Combined Guild Mage definitely goes firmly in Simic and not in a lot of Bant or High Alert style decks. It's more where you're really grinding this counter value out and moving it around and readapting creatures after you move counters. And you can get tricky in the middle of combat too, moving counters around. Veteran, Filler. I guess we can talk about Quench really quick if I haven't talked about it yet in other videos. There are certain decks that can use this to their advantage tempo-wise, but in most decks they're played in, they just aren't worth it. This format does tend to go into the mid and late game, at least as far as a lot of the archetypes in the meta push it towards. So Quench gets outclassed pretty quick. Sure, you'll remember the hero moments when, you still had it up when they tried to triple spell on turn 8. But by and large, it's a pretty dead card. If you're looking to counter things, you usually just want to go with the hard counter. and then just leave Quench alone. Best of 3, maybe sometimes it's better in sideboards, but overall I see this as a trap card that a lot of people get distracted by. Bladebrand, we definitely have room for. Stormstrike, if we were stronger red, can go in a Rakdos deck and get some good value for you. But we're really looking at either Oligarch, the Guildgate, or the Bladebrand. And I think I've been harping on it enough. You can probably guess that I'm going to go with this Guildgate and be happy and much more relieved, especially as we're towards the end of this pack, to have one. Nothing much for us here. There's definitely some really good blue late cards. A high alert deck would have been pretty sick. We're looking between a final payment and a vampire. It's definitely diminishing returns, and you can have too many final payments. Now that we have 2 dead revels, it's a little more viable. Alright, just through default. One more final payment. Wow, and then another summary judgment. And it kind of happens to be... Well, I take that back. We can play a Panther. Seems a little silly. I mean, I'd even maybe put a judgment in, take out a payment. Maybe that's what we should do instead, but possibly we need these Panthers to pay for more final payments, trade off with the Death Touch and get bought back by Revels. Or there's another Guildgate. Which honestly, if we use this other Guildgate, we kind of open ourselves up to a little bit easier splash for... Not even sure. Probably the Acrobat. It's definitely more powerful than the Guild Mage. Just out the gate as far as putting damage on the board. Guild Mage is a little slower, controllier. Which honestly, maybe we're really ended up more in that camp. Try to control with extra spells and grind back some extra value with our Dead Revels. Finish the game over time versus just getting an early damage, because I don't see a lot of early damage. I mean, it's possible, just not probable. I'm gonna go ahead and just grab that other Guildgate. Make us feel real good about life. Cry the Carnarium. It's a great sweeper. Doesn't go in almost any deck that can play it in this format though, because as you can see, we easily wipe out and wipe away a lot of our, if not all of our creatures and any value. Everything but Imp would die in Thrall. Let's see, as far as white creatures or white cards, Impassioned Orders, it's alright. It can provide some little life total padding if you need it. Watchful Giant is a playable in the high alert deck if you just need a late closer. Scavenger actually is a lot more useful in the deck that we have now. We have 2 Revels. We're definitely slower than we were trying to be earlier on. I'm not going to pick up this Gateway Plaza. We already have a Vampire if we want it. So, yep, go ahead and pick up that Scavenger. Alright, now we sort of fell into a game plan at the end. I didn't talk about Sphinx of the Guild Pact yet. It's playable. That said, there's a lot of 2-color colored removal, and this only has hexproof from monocolored. It's not protection either, so it's a 5/5 flyer. It can attack well, it blocks well. It's a big body, and it dodges half, maybe even 2/3 of the removal. I mean, it dodges Summary Judgment, dodges Grotesque Demise. It does not dodge a Bladebrand. It does not dodge Final Payment or a Bedevil, and that's just in my deck. It doesn't dodge the Mortify that we passed. It doesn't dodge the Instant Speed Enchantment. Blue-white. So for 7 mana, you're really putting a lot, and it's not as fully protected as you'd like. Some games it is as good as it looks like, and the opponent can't touch it. It just smashes in, wins the game. Often you get all the way to the late game, get it down, maybe turn 7, 8, 9, 10, and it just gets blown away immediately. So, Justar's Portal, Justiciar. I'm probably just going to cut all that out. So Justiciar's Portal is pretty good. if you have trickier enter the battlefield style effects. We don't have a lot of that. I mean, I guess Reveler does. I don't know, not a lot. Juggler does. So there's certain things that you can, even Thrall does, now that I'm looking at it, that you can really get tricky with. Mingler does too. Yeah, we actually have a decent amount, especially if you give Panther Death Touch. It's pretty sick. Actually has a lot more viability in this deck than I would have thought it would. Generally, it doesn't see a lot of play for me. I guess the other part is it also slips enchantments. So if you're getting locked down by an enchantment, like one of your creatures, then you can use it to slip out of it and even block that same turn. It's a pretty good trick. I just don't feel like Guild Pack goes in this deck. We just can't do that. It goes in a more rampier deck, so you're not really all the way out at turn 7+. Infiltrator is interesting. It might be a way for us to push through this damage that we're trying. It justifies an ill-gotten inheritance. We have 2 Revels now. Footlight Fiend and other things that could be used to power this through. You get even 2 of these out. I think I tripped myself up by talking about the portal too much. Alright, we're just going to take the creature. Try and shake off that strange feeling. Oh wow, alright, well, we're getting very rewarded, so we're going to be a little slower, but we're going to have a decently balanced Mardu deck. Wouldn't mind this Grudian. Definitely don't need any more final payments. Go ahead and seal our insurance for our scattered mana base. We are kind of an active treason deck. Since now we have 2 infiltrators, one of the only ways to sack. We grab it, we sack it if we don't want to give it back to them. We attack if that's more profitable. Yeah, and versus Sentinel's Mark and Pegasus, I don't know if it gets the main board or not, but it's worth looking at. I don't think we need any more control. Maybe we actually do take another active treason and kind of lean into it now. What would we cut? Green up would probably get cut. Roustabout gets cut. I'm not sure. We need to look at a little more of the full deck. Possible active treason. I mean, since we already have, and we're not going to play a Sky Tether, even though it's uncommon, and if we're not going to play some of these cards, we should grab that one. I'm going to grab another active treason. See if this just didn't pan out real quick at the end. Wow, we actually have a pick. Last 4 cards of pack 3. Are we satisfied with our 2 drops? We have 2 1s and 4 2s. That's pretty good. Oligarch really goes well in this deck, though, with our infiltrators, getting back with Revels, etc. So, pretty nice. I doubt we play the 1 Vampire. I also doubt we play any of the rest of these. Don't really matter. Wow, alright, well, we have the option for a Panther if we want. And that's it. All in all, we really fought through this draft, just clawing and scraping for our colors and trying to figure out the best path. I think it's really interesting that if we had gone with the green common for our pick 1 pack 1, which clearly would have been justified, we probably would have ended up with a much smoother, well put together deck. But I'm not wholly dissatisfied with this deck. It has a fighting chance. It's still got some mana issues that might bite us. It still might be a little hard to finish out some games. So first, let's take out both treasons. Whoops, right? Both treasons just to see what it looks like, and we need to cut cards to begin with. So just kind of trim up anything we're not super sure of. I am taking both those gold cards out just for now, just to look at it. Trim 1 payment just to look at it. I'm not really sure between the Infiltrators and the Mangler. I think we are Infiltrator deck now. Between the Revels, the recursive value from a lot of these Afterlife effects, we're going to be able to run pretty fast. Closer to as fast as I wanted when we first started. Just a slightly different route through Orzhov, and not even all the best Orzhov. We got some pretty good Orzhov. That's going to allow some early aggro, which definitely justifies the inheritance. I don't know if we can actually go down a mana, though, since we are tricolor. As far as color sources, with overall 16 lands, I think we can do it. We're really skating close to the line. We're asking a lot as far as getting our lands and the colors we need. I don't see any of these red cards being interesting, so between the gold cards, I feel like this pushes damage and can be played earlier faster. Though it will require red card. I think we go Acrobat, Panther. That gets us 14 creatures. Alright, I think I'm going to go with the Imp, though I'm sure we'll revisit this once we get going. I'm going to do the hard way for sure. And we'll see how this deck performs. So, all right, we'll see you for game number 1. All right, let's get into our first match. This will be interesting as far as I've had aggro Rakdos decks, and I know how those look and feel, and I've had Orzhov decks, which are aggro-y, but really grind a lot of that recursive value. This might be the first hybrid. A little dicey. We got the mana base as long as it's gonna cooperate. And definitely sending that one back. Oh man. Yep, sending that one back too. Gross. So we have 2 mana. Play one thing. We need double black for Bedevil. So let's put back a Bedevil and a Blood Mist. Or a Revels. Wow. Actually, let's keep Revels. Let's put back Blood Mist. This needs a lot of help, but I mean, what are you gonna do? Hopefully opponent's slow and we draw all of the things we need. Okay. Okay. Wow. Need a swamp so bad it hurts. Oh man. And this is another thing about best of 1. I mean, we could have kept our second hand, but I mean, we would have had a 3rd mana, all in one color though, and nothing else really going on. So really we needed that extra mulligan, and this is just what we got. Luckily it looks like opponents also cut off of a color, but at least they are getting their land drops. We are just stranded over here. Still tied though. Still tied. 18-18. Well, when opponent finally finds their second color, they're gonna have plenty to do. Okay, Dagger Caster, so we can at least start attacking. On swamp. Oh my god. Not like this. Not like this. Gonna be a pretty quick game. Oh wow. This is really unlucky, but this is the variance of Magic. These are the games we have to put up with so we can have our awesome, amazing games. We're just gonna take it. We get a swamp, we're still just man, holding up our death touch. Okay, swamp. What's this take? Needs a green. Yep. Go ahead and get the Oligarch down. This lets us double block the caster if we need to. And to be honest, if we can just pick out another mana, we're not out of this totally. Opponent still just has one color mana. I don't think they're mono red, but they do have synergies that would go with black for Rakdos, but also this goblin, which needs green. Like they're lining up to... I was thinking they're going to take out the Oligarch. Nope. Alright. So they could have a Sure Strike. They could have a lot of things. A Sure Strike totally blows us out because it'll take the Oligarch and the Panther with it. Whereas the Goblin can't pump and we'll still have to use a spell for it. So we'll go around their trick. Or at least try to minimize the damage. So yeah, there's a Storm Strike. Still power of the Oligarch. If we pull a mana, we can get down the Scavenger. Okay, okay. Alright, we are ever so slowly doing it. Let's go ahead and attack first. Problem is, this is just one big creature, so we're still liable to tricks and removal spells, but that's just the problem with playing from behind, giving the opponent 4 free turns. With our Scry, we want to see black mana in action. Alright, well, there's at least black mana. Opponent's gonna give us the gas. Okay, alright. We stopped him briefly. So now the question is, do we want to attack with the Scavenger? What do we get to hold back? Carrion Imp. I guess Carrion Imp plus Panther with Death Touch, and that's pretty good. And if they have a trick or do something, take the Scavenger out, then that's just more fuel for Dead Revels. Alright, if they want to take it, all the better. We actually move ahead. Ah, nuts. It has to be... Oh, we haven't killed anything yet. What an idiot. We're actually going to decline that. Oh well. I was thinking for some reason we already had a creature in their graveyard. 2 life would have been nice, but getting that Oligarch back I think is going to be nicer. Interesting. Alright, well we've completely stalemated opponent, which is nice. And now we're going to start getting mean with it. Wow, opponent goes to 2? No chumps? Alright, so if we final payment, Dead Revels, I have 2 mana left. Could play the Oligarch back out. I don't hate it. I also don't hate holding up final payment though for something better. Yeah, I guess we're just holding everything up. Interesting. I mean, we could cycle a Blade Brand, but I can't think of anything I super would want to use the rest of the mana immediately for anyway. I want to wait to get something else from final payment to Dead Rebels back. Okay, so he finally has Goblin mana, so he can pump it. Alright, there we go. So this should be game. Alright, so I guess we sacrifice the Panther. And I can't believe we were able to dig ourselves out. That's really crazy. I thought we were totally screwed. Alright, so we won't be jerks. We'll just attack, and if I don't think there's anything he could have, then that's game. Alright. Well, that's how you mulligan down to 5 and don't draw any lands for the top 10 cards and still pull it out. Turned from one of those games you just have to put up with in Magic to one of those awesome ones where you swing it all the way back around. I do think it's interesting. Opponent just got caught flat-foot, but still didn't press their advantage or try to double block or mitigate that 5/5 damage, and just kind of put themselves in a position of not being able to bring it back. So we are keeping this. We're just missing our splash color, and when we do get it, we'll be ready with the Bedevil. This, it looks like we're just double guild gating, get the Panther down. The classic slower start. Oh man, and a red off top. Mana, not an issue for this game. Now we're just ready to go. Need a big old threat. Opponent also looking Rakdosi. Alright, no 2-drop. That's nice. Looks like they had something they could have played. Let's mask the fact that we have red for the moment. We don't need double red. No reason to give away information we don't want to yet. We might be scavenging this Panther next turn. Wonder if... is Shock in this format? I can't remember. Actually, I don't think Shock is in this format. I'm trying to think what he could have been holding up there with 2 mana. Guess it could be a Blade Brand. Alright, opponent decides to use some of their mana. Do we want to cycle a Blade Brand? Kinda. But let's conserve our resources. We have a mana for next turn. Even though it feels good to always use all your mana and cycle when you can, try and conserve our resources. We do have a longer time to kill with this deck than we'd like for being ostensibly an aggro deck. Alright, that can catch a Grotesque Demise, preventing any triggers. We'll attack first and let them throw it in front of the Blade Brand if they want. And then actually... yeah. Blade Brand's still good. trade off if they'd like. Alright, so we get a free 2 damage, and then we'll actually put down the scavenger. Get our sack value from our oligarch. Very nice. Okay. Trying to figure out if we really want the Reveler or not. We definitely want the Revels. I think we want the Reveler too, to be honest. If we really want to, we can cycle the Blade Brand. Tempted to put the Rebels on bottom, but it's action. We have 4 mana, which is pretty good for us. We're just going to keep it as is. That good little afterlife token. So this is how we sort of imbalance the creature between that and Infiltrator, the creature power level. Oh, well, that does block a lot of stuff, but it can get Blade Branded. Blade Branding a 5/5. Yeah, that's what we play Limited for. Play Limited so we can Blade Brand 5/5s into a 0/6 wall and feel like that was a good play. Not sure. Maybe he's got a whatever to Carnage. Either 1 damage or discard 2 card. Split card. Alright, so there's 2 ways to go about this. And I think we want to use the Blade Brand method so we can draw a card and maybe double spell this turn. Actually, wait, we already know it's a Revels. So not as exciting. We could Revel away the Infiltrator and then use the dead Revels to get them both back. Yeah, let's give it a try. So, Reveler. And this is where the weird interaction, like how much do we throw away versus how much are we going to recur versus damage on board? Like, how much is worth all of that? Throw him away. Pick up the Revels. Go ahead, go attacking. We could have done this the other way too if we wanted. Kind of has to block with the... I mean, if he wants to let the 5/5 through, that's great. Okay. Okay, well that will hold us back from dead Revels. But I still expect him to block with the Junk Troller. And it's honestly not a bad trade for opponent. No, get another Infiltrator. Alright. Not bad. We definitely could use another mana. Just to loosen our collar a bit. But so far we're slightly up on card advantage, I believe. Okay. Empire gets in. So this is likely just a bedevil swing. It's going to get another ping off of the vampire, but can't do much about that. Okay, 1 extra mana. Really can't do much with 5. Awkwardly, everything's 3. Rebels, I guess we can get back. A couple creatures. So we can either just send with Reveler, which he likely just lets through. Revels and Infiltrator. Or I guess Revels and still... See, if we're going to Bedevil, we might as well just Bedevil, right? Yeah, it's worth the extra 5 damage, for sure. Alright, so Bedevil Acrobat. He gets the ping. It's fine. Hit him for 7. And then we will Revels. I believe Oligarch and... Should we just grab another Infiltrator? We should probably grab the Panther so we can double spell next turn. Yeah. He's low enough that we shouldn't need both Infiltrators. Alright, opponent's got a Cry of the Carnarium. Not sure why we're able to see. Oh, it's light up the stage, that's what it is. Ouch, okay, alright, opponent, that's a pretty strong turn. Pretty much out of cards now, but... Oh, wow. Interesting. I guess they just did the math and decided that we were going to win the race and they didn't want to race the rest of the way. But they just put out an Ill-Gotten Inheritance. That was a really strange scoop. We definitely had a lot of answers, and probably we're going to be able to push through most of that, but it was still a game. That was a really odd scoop, but, you know, such is Arena. On we go, 2-0. Yuck, we have not gotten good opening hands. Alright, this is okay. Got a little bit of synergy. Can cast most of our cards. We'll get rid of one of the Infiltrators. It's a good demonstration of the London Mulligan too, because I guess presumably we would have only drawn these many cards and not got the Inheritance, which doesn't change this hand drastically, but we definitely prefer it the other way. And it can definitely have some drastic changes. It's one of the ways that we were able to pick and choose 5 cards out of a 7-card hand in the last game. Or 2 games ago. Well, if we can just curve out Infiltrator into Inheritance, I'm going to feel pretty good about that. It's a pretty tight clock. We can use Final Payment for life, possibly, if we need to. Yeah, Hybrid. Hybrid's no fun. We'll go ahead and attack. We're going to be aggressive. If they want to trade the Hybrid, then I am all for it. Curving turn 4, turn 5, mana would be improbable, but definitely welcome. Also want to dodge any red cards for the moment. Dangers of playing that 3 colors. So far, a pretty straightforward Simic from our opponent. We will, if the board state doesn't change, just attack in as is. Happy to trade off either creature. Generally speaking. Alright, Aeromoculus. Alright, it's mana. I think we just attack with the Infiltrator and hold back, play the Inheritance, and go. Gladly trade Infiltrator for either of those creatures. Thank you. And that still allows us to hold up the Fiend against a hybrid attack. Alright. Gladly take 3 life from him. Let's see if we can't race. This is what the Inheritance is good for. We're trying to put on pressure. We're trying to get him down. That in the next, say even 3 turns, we untap, hopefully have enough mana, and then just finish him off with our Inheritance Lava Axe style. If we do pull a 5th mana just this next turn, though, we're going to be pretty happy. Roll puts him even lower. It's a blocker for Homunculus. Let's see. Adapts, of course. Alright, so there's probably a trick. So I don't know why you would attack the hybrid in without something. I'm trying to think. There's Gift of Growth. There's a few just pump spells. But what do we gain? We get an extra point of damage on the backswing. He uses his mana for that. And likely doesn't have a follow-up, so we just get a free Infiltrator swing. I think I'm okay with this. I know we're playing into his trick, but I think we're okay playing into that trick. If he's just trading too, then no problem there. Alright, so here's the trick to save. I mean, it can be Gift of Growth, it can be Applied Biomancy. Applied Biomancy would be pretty sick. He could pump up the hybrid to save it and put the... There it is. Put my card back in hand. Alright, not bad. Not bad from the opponent. So now we have a Judgment and a Payment. Wish we had one more card. We could just... Judgment, hold up Payment. We could hold up Judgment for instantaneous speed if we wanted. He's still pretty far away from getting that hybrid. So we get the Homunculus. Kind of want to don't allow shenanigans though. So let's just take out the Homunculus. Probably just take the hit from hybrid unless something crazy happens, and hopefully we draw land. Yep. All right. The hybrid, not great. Okay. Yeah. Oligarch holds down a hybrid. They go for a trick. We use Final Payment. And opponent's been pretty stuck on land, so. Sure thing. Oh, alright. Straight up trade. We're okay with that too. Wow. This is, even though it's impossible, that's not how it works, but opponent clearly was in our pod and drafted all of the hybrids that we passed. Yeah, we're just gonna get our damage in. We're just trying to have enough life to be alive when we kill them. We are perfectly fine taking a couple swings if they want to keep being aggressive, especially as land screwed as they are right now. Which, you know, is unfortunate, but it's not like we pulled out too far ahead. Alright. That's nice. That's a nice synergy. I forgot. It's been a while since I did Inheritance in a aggro deck. Automatically trigger Spectacle. And I think we actually want to play that, see if we can get a frickin' mana. Let's see. Doesn't seem to be pausing for any tricks on their side either. Still no mana. Yeah, let's just all out attack. And sack. Liar. Yep. Worth it. And they want to trade off. Love to. Alright, opponent's fallen pretty far behind. We've taken care of 2 hybrids with 1 still on board and an homunculus. We can pull our 5th mana for this thrall. That's probably going to be about it. That would be 2, 5, 6, down to 2. Yeah. Well, Inheritance is doing work this game. Alright, there's a mana. Let's just attack and give him the option to trade off whichever one he wants. He's got a trick, we still have a final payment and a Spire Mingler. In fact, maybe we should just hold up the final payment and the Spire Mingler. No, thank you. I mean, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Okay. Personally, I would have gone the other way around if I was opponent, but that's just me. Oh, opponent might have a... Is Bone Dash here? Frilled Mystic. Okay. they breathe a deep sigh of relief that they're able to pull that one off. And we would have got around it if we decided to hold up Mingler and paint it instead. So, don't know if that's worth pointing out that it might have been a real thing or not. Alright, put attacks. I mean, if we draw a mana, then that's just game. Because we can activate the Inheritance if they don't have a counter for our Mingler. Supposing they do have a blocker, then alright, we should be good. We can even go the expensive route. Just pop them in the face. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do with this deck. Use our grindy value and trading off our lower cost stuff for their higher cost stuff, controlling the board a bit, while putting on pressure at the cost of, you know, our own life total, through not caring if they swing back or just sacrificing creatures and finishing them off with an Inheritance. So 3-0, not a bad start. Really prefer to have some smaller creatures put out at first, but 3 mana, 2 of our main colors, bunch removal. We will make it work. Right. Big opponent's got a slow red start. Not sure what that means. Alright. At least Gruul, possibly Teamer. And that's something we'll definitely trade if they'd like. Or use final payment if they try and kill it. Alright, they go for Scorchmark. It's not a great trade, but we are at least leveraging final payment plan. Plus, we keep the Panther in the graveyard. Scorchmark does exile for what it's worth. Except for... Oh, wait, no. Yeah, we did kill something. Not going to pull that glove again. Love to. Love to. Get a little life. Looks like they are playing black, so... Looks like they just needed a playable. Okay, we are just trading off left and right here. Well, we have so many dead rebels that I guess we just pay full price. Why not? Get back both of ours. Play out the Twilight Panther and grind that value. Okay. Not my favorite. And we'll go ahead and just put that panther right back in the graveyard. Get out of here, sucker. Okay. There's some threats, there's some creatures. We'll even have enough to do some multiple casting. Yeah, it's fine that way. Alright. We got probably our biggest attacker, actually. We don't get bigger than 5/5. Ready and raring. What you got, opponent? Boo. There's that card in action. Looks amazing right then, didn't it? Still doesn't have any creatures for us to eat, so I don't really want to put the Carionet back out. Not that I love paying full price for a Blade Juggler. We could eat the Panther. Or we could just decline to eat, to be honest. Alright. And we'll decline. Yeah. Actually, nah. I'm going to take that life. I think that there'll be enough other creatures between everything else here for Dead Revel's targets. And honestly, with that inheritance going, 2 life might actually be pertinent. Alright, Blade Juggler from our opponent. And passes the turn. Alright, so let's go ahead and attack. See what we get off of our juggler. Okay. Do we want to just demise this juggler now? I think we offer the trade, especially since we have 2 ways and we can actually just feed the Oligarch to it. We'll be able to Dead Revel's back. The juggler is actually great, or even the Oligarch, or both. And this Carionet's barely just keeping us quote-unquote ahead as the inheritance does work. If we draw our own inheritance, that's always... Oh, that is painful. Okay. Alright, pretty gross. Opponent sweeps us pretty hard there. But they are down to 1 card. It's likely that we're demising that artist. I'm just letting him hang out to dry in case anything else interesting comes out. Frustratingly, though, it's going to be exiled too. And if we ever bring back this imp, we're not leaving ourselves any fodder. Alright. Hopefully opponent doesn't have a better target in hand, but it is what it is. What? So he did it so it stayed in his graveyard and he got a scry and counters. But it goes away. Yeah. Interesting play from our opponent. We'll get in there. Fine. Now we got a pretty good position. Yeah, we still don't have enough value for our second Rebels. Man. That sucks. They're going to be able to carry an Emperor-only creature. Great. Okay. Harsh. Got a real graveyard war going on here. It's our one removal spell that isn't that exciting. But we're just going to attack. What are you going to do about it, opponent? Sure. And man, he shouldn't have any more. Put it that way. He shouldn't have any more imps. It's not that good a card. Certainly not top decking any more imps, right? Oh no! Man, opponent is a top deck master. That's right. We still have board position for what it's worth. And we keep drawing action ourselves, so not too upset. Come on, just draw a land. Don't you have any other lands in your deck? Draw some of those. What are you doing? Oh my god, calm down. What's that? You already top decked a Carnage with a 2-card freaking hand. Alright, opponent's got something tricky that he doesn't want to share with us, or he's just holding onto a land, which either way is not going to affect us too much. That's fine. In fact, he should have gone for the Hacker Bat. We don't have any rebels, so just the way it is. If he doesn't draw anything, then we got him next turn. Well, I guess he still activates. He still activates the ability on Ill-Gotten Inheritance and gives him that extra last little oomph, but oh my god, this guy cannot stop drawing things. Alright. Alright, that's better. I think we still swing in. Think versus any removal. Just keep his board clear. Yeah, makes sense. So he trades, which I would if I were him too. And then now we have lethal next turn. So if we activate now, he activates in response, and then now we're out. If we just wait, he has to activate his before the end of his next turn, and then we're good. Because if not, then the trigger from our upkeep on the inheritance kills him. Or actually, man, I keep forgetting. Nope. Math's hard. Math is difficult. Alright, Daggercaster does not change the situation. In fact, he just killed himself, so... Wait, it's just attack. There we go. There were so many different ways we could have killed him. I just didn't know which one I wanted to do. So, all right, pretty good. We've somehow achieved a nice mid-game Mardu grind deck, which I really haven't played before. So, that card would actually be decent in our deck right now. All right. Get on to game number 5. Alright, let's keep the wind train a rolling. See if we can't 7-0 this very unique and semi-delicate deck. Are they really the last genie? Oh, look at that. Alright, so we start out with our Tron mana. Still can't actually play Bedevil, but definitely a keeper. Keep forgetting. Now we can adjust all of our basic lands. Can put some pretty ones in there. Go ahead and throw up a full control. Oh, very nice. I think we want to get that hero precinct 1 off the board as quickly as possible. And we don't mind trading off some damage. Oh wow. Yes. Yes! What? Alright. That's, could not have blocked it better ourselves. Now we will not put down the guild gate. We'll just go ahead and play our infiltrator. Alright. Alright, so honestly, I think we carry an imp away that hero, get rid of it for good, and put a 2-power attacker on the board. Question is, do we want to attack this infiltrator in? We do still have Revels. So I think yes. Keeping the board clear, not a bad idea. They seem pretty happy with trading too, so... Alright, that's... Not sure. Sometimes people can forget that the extra damage from Footlight Fiend kind of acts as it being able to kill something for 2. But definitely not the trades that I would have expected to start here. Okay. Well, I'm glad we saved our Bedevil. Oh, yeah, no. We're good on that. Ooh, or our final payment. Let's attack the infiltrator. I doubt they want to trade. And then we don't have enough black mana to final payment and Revels. I'm tempted to take this final payment out of our life total. It's a little risky. If we get rid of the infiltrator, then we can definitely Revels it back next turn. Well, if we can get the mana for it. See what they do. It's not too many things. The only other thing that they could really do is use their own final payment to soften the blow of... Alright. Well, that actually makes it easier for us. That worked out just fine. This lets us dodge the exile effect of Grotesque, gives us target for the dead Revels, and makes it so the Seraph cannot attack with its afterlife tokens this turn either. All things considered, pretty good. Alright, our aggro is starting to hurt a little. Yeah, we don't necessarily want to trade this infiltrator right now with anything. If anything, we could do against the Haza Officer. We can get back our Imp and our Footlight Fiend, play the Fiend. Sounds good. Yeah. And we'll be able to carry an imp away his other mythic. It's a pretty good deck so far for opponent. Right. Okay. Luckily we have plenty of removal, we just don't have a lot of ways to push our damage at the moment. Alright, so we can imp and final payment. I think possibly final payment using the Fiend as payment. Kill the Scavenger, kill the token, attack with the Infiltrator, and we're happy to trade either of those. What's the swing back? 4, we get a 10, we'd be close to 10. Actually, I mean, we still have the Carrion Imp out, so... Definitely playing the Imp. Please and thank you. Question is, we can infiltrate, use the Fiend, hold up the payment. Then we'd have to use life. I think we just go this route. So opponent has their own final payment, and now as I imagine when they would use it. Right, nothing there. So now, do we want to attack the Infiltrator? I think so. Yeah, let's try and push the advantage. Fine. Fine. Pretty even. Alright. Unfortunately, they're going to get lifelink off that. But we will be able to kill. Does he have a Blade Brand? Was that what he was holding on to? Yeah, alright. Alright. Opponent bringing out all the tricks. Gross. Let's see. I don't see any reason to fire it off now or even later, to tell you the truth. Right, that's fine. Got a real barn burner going here. What do we want? Revels would be fine. Yeah, we can't block that. Inheritance would be fine. Another Plains is definitely not fine. I think he's got another Blade Brand, possibly. Oh, cool. Super cool. Uh-huh. Good. This is good. Man, alright, so we cycle the Blade Brand to see if we can get it playable. Leaves us with 6 to play. looking for a couple things. Definitely doesn't help us any more than Twilight Panther already does. I don't love it, but we're trying to get card advantage here. Okay, so those are Revels. We only have 4 mana, mostly white. We're gonna get back the Imp and Imp and the Fiend. If we do an Imp and the Fiend, then that works. I guess we wait till next turn so we can hold up the Panthers' ability. It's definitely a game of inches right now. I mean, if I was him, I would still just attack into it. Oh, perfect. Wonderful and excellent. Yep, nothing we can do about that. So we're taking 5. Even with Revels, it's looking real grim. Should have played that one. Well, pick 4. Got the Panther. Captain Roof and stuff. Not looking good. We have a sliver of hope. But again, if I was him, I'd still just attack with the Knight, do the trade, and then you have 3 extra flyers in the air. Yep. Oops, no, almost didn't block. Giving ourselves the tiniest of slivers of hopes here. We don't have any sweepers. We used a good bit of our targeted removal. We will get a flyer down. That gives us a little life. Ugh, Blade Juggler. Cruel. Cruel Blade Juggler. Sure. The 3rd time that Imp's come down. So what's that give us? 3, 4, 5? I need to kill that, right? 2, 4, 5. It's 2, it's 3, 4, 2 life. I guess it lets us play the juggler. Then it's flying. He might have something here anyway. It looks like he's eager to Spire Mingler. There you go. Yeah, short of a Cry of the Carnarian, which we do not own in our deck. We were posed. Good game, though. That's a pretty dang good Orzhov deck. Still can't believe you traded off his hero on turn 2. It was very odd. But no getting around it. It was a pretty good deck. Alright, this is a unexciting but very keepable hand. Luckily we'll be able to trickle out our little 1-drops. While we wait. It's possible we cheat Hackerbat out next turn. I imagine he puts down land and attacks, threatens activation, we let him through. Depends on what he puts down for his second creature, if he has a follow-up. Alright, we were able to skirt around having 3 guild gates to start for our land. Squeeze out some creatures all the same. Wouldn't mind a 4th off the top, but we are going to be set up. Bladebrand, Footlight Fiend combo. Spire Mingler, etc. One more land lets us hold up both of these. Okay. I don't think he's attacking. If he has a Blade Brand, he wants to trade off the Fireblade with the Hackerbat, then absolutely. Yep, no problem. Man, all of the guild gates. Alright. Let's hold up our own little combo. Let's hold the Panther back. I don't necessarily want to trade off the Footlight Fiend, but I'll probably trade off this Panther if he really wants to for the Shade. And then if there's any trickery, we have a final payment. Okay. Does he have a... I was going to say, does he have a Dagger Caster? Alright, so here's what's going to happen. That's going to go on the stack. And we are going to... We could actually Blade Brand the Footlight Fiend if we wanted. But to be honest... Well... Yeah. Yeah, let's go that route. Get to draw a card. Blade Brand's harder to get in position to use as actual removal. Another final payment, but we are absolutely set now. If we can get an untapped mana off the top. There we go. Now we can get this a little bit closer to where it needs to be. And I feel like we worked through the opening salvo of synergistic cards the opponent had. Interesting, they're on Mardu as well. Just now noticed that. Okay, Bellhaunt. I think, yeah, we get rid of one of the final payments. And then go this route. And actually, we'll Spire Mangler. We don't have anything worth getting, do we? Not totally. Kind of want that Thrall to die, to tell you the truth, so we can get it back with Rebels again. So yeah, we'll hold up all of this. We can get the Mangler down to block. If he goes for a trick, we can actually use final payment. Alright. Take that too. Uh-oh. They have Rebels. I can see it. He's digging through his graveyard. So full price Rebels means we don't have to deal with the Bellhaunt again immediately, but we're about to. So really we want to use our Revels, and then we'll just have 3 mana. I mean, we can get back Fiend and Hackerbat, actually. And then... Well, then that doesn't leave us enough. Oh god, Drill Bit. Alright, well... Nothing we can really do about that. Very interesting. Very hand control-y sort of deck they got going. Alright, left me the final payment for some reason. Now we can just use it. I mean, I guess, I don't know. If I'm looking at that, I think I leave him the Revels, because then I can already tell it's tight on mana, and I'm going to pick off at least one of those cards again with the Bellhaunt. But as it stands, I'm just going to use the final payment response to the Bellhaunt trigger and blow its head off. Possibly they found another Blade Brand? I've only used one. Or at least they have another one left in their deck, possibly. Alright. I think they're looking for a Blade Brand or bust. They definitely have a good head start on us. But if we can just fade a couple turns, get a couple draws. Alright, that's not the greatest, but not the worst. Can use this Summary Judgment on it if he wants to swing in, get all fancy. Didn't really think about that, but I am definitely leaving that out for the Dire Caster. It's alright though. Can eat it with the Pontiff. And I think both of our Revels, Dead Revels, nope, just one of the Dead Revels. So there's still a Dead Revels. And not a ton of things that are going to help us out. Let's let that go on the stack, see if he found a Blade Brand for it. Nope, I don't think so. So we'll eat our own Infiltrator. And might have a follow-up for the Thrall. Maybe. Right, do they want to give up that Vampire for 3 life? Nope. Alright. Alright, draw a dud, but we're actually ahead, though it may not look like it, or at least we brought it even, more even than it looks. Roll's getting in for all the good damage. Does he have his own Summary Judgment? Proud Mockery. Okay. Can't do much about that. Okay. Okay. So far so good. We're getting a lot of these little dinky creatures back out, but it helps make our Pontiff essentially do or die blockable, unblockable. Really wouldn't mind our Ill-Gotten Inheritance or even the Ogre for a big body and a little scrying. The other Revels and Riches, or excuse me, Dead Revels. There's definitely no Revels and Riches in this deck. The opponent's got 3 cards, and they've been playing quite well with a pretty alright Mardu deck. Okay. Like no dice, and we keep drawing lands. Alright, we're very happy. Throwing down. Looks like they do have a Sunny Judgment. It's fine. Actually, we'll just take advantage while we're at it. He does have, well, he did have other discard effects, so we'll keep a tricky mountain up our sleeves. Alright, it's a pretty big creature. Yep, gets in for 2. And this is a close one. Alright, Demise is going to help. Very close one, though. Alright, Dead Rebels off the top. Any of our other Death Touch abilities. Infiltrator, not bad. So we can keep up the Pontiff to kill the Recluse. Or we can get in for 3 damage and chump, and then 3 damage again next turn. Unless he finds an answer. Kind of like taking care of the Recluse now. Yeah. Let's take this line. I don't know how much safer it is. Alright, so there's the wrinkle. But actually, we're still going to be okay. Or at least stable-ish. So if we can draw a creature, then we will be pseudo unblockable. Alright, that works too. We can't activate it this turn, but all the same. So I think we attack Pontiff, offer up the trade. I guess attack both, offer up the trade. Drop the inheritance, win next turn. Could just eat the infiltrator, but we were going to use that probably anyway. So he has to block 1, block the infiltrator. Funsies will make him indestructible. Possibly we should have cut back the infiltrator to make it indestructible, because I mean we didn't really gain anything. I don't know, hopefully we didn't punt that away at the end. He could still have anything that does 2 extra damage. I mean, we couldn't block the Sphinx anyway, but it just means that we gave up the infiltrator for no reason, because if he had blocked it, then we were going to eat the infiltrator to make it, etc. And we still would have had it up to make the Pontiff indestructible if we needed to on the fly. It looks like we may have got there, though. Alright, barely. And see, that's right there. We would have been able to save our Pontiff. Luckily, All of our punts didn't add up to get to us too badly. Not bad. We'll take it. Yeah, revels. Timely revels. Alright, what's that get us to? 5? Yeah. 5-1, not too bad. Let's try and push through. Finish this real strong. Overall, if you can grind out this mid-game value, then you can win on that late little extra 2 damage that takes him out. Alright, nothing very exciting. 4 mana though. 2 colors. Really a bunch of utility spells. There is an argument to have sent this one back. Except for with 16 lands, I don't want to go down a card and possibly be mana screwed for 3 turns. It's worth just hoping to draw into some action. That said, if we meet up with an aggro deck, then less fun. And we are flooding a little. We have some protection though already. Alright, an Orzhov. Yep, Orzhov Locket. It's Orzhov as it gets. Alright, well. Looks like opponent is also on the take your time plan. Gets their throw out just a step before ours. Well, we could Summary Judgment. I think we will, actually, instead of Spire Mingler. Because we'll get our throw out next turn, Spire Mingler, and have Fatal Payment up the turn after that. Oh, what do they have? Is there white? Arrestor Zeal. Yeah. Never expect their Arrestor Zeal, that's for sure. Well, here's the thing. We're about to take 5 damage anyway. So this is just a card that we didn't want to use, but we will. And at the end of the day, we go down an extra card. But at least the creature's off the board now. Never expect the Arrestor Zeal. Syndicate Messenger. It's the name of the card I couldn't remember earlier. Very good card. It's going to drop to our Mangler, though, I think. Actually, no, let's just get our throw down. Opponent's probably still technically a little ahead, but now we've got plenty of mana. We can start double spelling. Okay. Alright, alright, alright. So we can attack, get the Acrobat down, have 4 mana left. Nothing to get back. Kind of like that. We get a lot of synergy from activating Spectacle. That's what we're going to do. Okay. Still going to go for Acrobat here. And Pester. Alright, looks like they have a Blade Brand. Or another Arrestor Zeal, but that's fine if they do. Zeal actually doesn't protect him from that, so yeah, we're going to block all the way around with the Revels in hand. We want to see what they're up to. And if they have their own Revels they're trying to use, then all the better. Alright, Illigon Inheritance, that's fine. I guess we need to keep back the Thrall with no other way to manage these guys, except for the Mangler. I guess if we throw in and don't get blocked, we could do 9 damage, which takes them down to 8, they go back up to 9, and then we have to take 5 in the air. Nope, let's just attack with a Acrobat. If they don't block, we do get to do some extra damage to them. Yeah, if they do block, then great. If they have another Arrestor Zeal, then okay. Alright, that's fine. Let's... hopefully they kill our Thrall. I'd like to get a Juggler and a Thrall back. I guess we could have left the Spire Mangler out to trade for the Messenger and push the aggressive, because they do have their inheritance already working. And even though they're a little low on mana, they just drew 2 extra cards. Alright, we gotta turn up the pressure here. Okay. Think. Actually, no. Since we'll have a Spirit left over, Spirit can take the brunt. The Mangler can pump the Afterlife token and block the Messenger if they decide to attack. Now we have 2 pretty good cards, so we're going to go ahead. We need to leave up 3 so we can still recast. And it's a little obvious not playing the Blade Juggler there, but so be it. I want to prevent that attack if it comes in. He's doing the math too. He knows he's pretty close. Alright, just go ahead and swing. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Summary Judgment or some form of removal with 3 cards in hand and 6 mana open. Alright, so kind of best case scenario. We're going to be able to force some sort of trick out of his hand. And we forgot to pump the Acrobat. It's okay. Juggler. Possibly mana. That's a nice card, we'll take it. We left 2 damage on the board. I hope that doesn't come back to bite us. Alright, we don't mind that. Gonna attack. Alright, no attacks. Very nice. Alright, so just get rid of Grudian and swing with everything. And then actually I think we get rid of this Infiltrator and just get the Reveler out for spectacle value. Ooh, but we have to save that red to do so. Well, depending on how he blocks, this actually... There we go. Would be a foregone conclusion. Ooh. Neither of us did the math that well. Alright. That's what happens when you say math is for blockers and the blockers say math is for other people besides me and get hit for exactsies. Alright, just one more. Let's get in there. Alright, 7-1. Still 7. Let's get that last win. Alright, JC Madden, you've been chosen to die by my hand. Okay, we'll totally take this. Got some Imperious Oligarchs to get real funky in the beginning. Blade Brand to take out anything that we can't take out anyway. Or Test Demise to follow it up. Pretty good starting hand. Yep. Just need a little action. Go ahead. Go ahead, play a hybrid. Play the Lizard King, see if I care. Ooh, Growth Spiral, alright. Opponent ramping. And opponent thinking. All right. Not as exciting as in Constructed, but it's possible they found another. I mean, you still get to make it into a 4/4. So we're gonna swing. See what happens. I imagine they just take it, and then we'll be able to keep up Blade Brand and Grotesque Demise, depending on... Oh, okay. Did not expect that. Alright, now... we can take 4. They have to use their mana and get this other Oligarch down. But we won't be able to double spell next turn anyway, so let's just get the Oligarch and then have Blade Brand up next turn. Not to mention, I guess, actually we can just Blade Brand the Spirit token if we really want to. Ooh, or we're going to get the nice blowout. Oh, except for Nuts. Nuts and Nuts again. If they adapt right now, it's no good. Oh, opponent misses capitalizing on our punt. They actually would have saved a mana if they had adapted first and then used the Titanic Brawl. All the same though, they could have just saved their creature and still blown in for an extra 4 damage, just not gotten the Guild Mage down. Luckily they punted back to us. Yeah, we're just gonna swing in, drop our Pontiff and our Oligarch, and have ourselves a grand old time. Next turn we go down our Thrall, still have a Blade Brand to back it up. Pretty textbook. Dealt with all of our opponent's threats, as well as barely evaded getting punished for a punt. Holy smokes. Alright, well, we don't want to take 8. That's for sure. And now I kind of just want to do Hackerbat and Blade Brand. Do I want to trade the Hackerbat versus just one of these? Not really. So we're going to leave back a token to to block with. That way we still have the deterrent up front. But push comes to shove, we can just throw this token in front. Right. See if opponent has anything to say about that. Doesn't look like it. And that might be game for opponent. Down to no cards. That's rough. Alright, so we're going to pump up the hacker bats. We'll lay off on the throw for one more turn. Eat their hybrid. Pump this. Swing in. I mean, it'd be safer to leave up mana for the Pontiff to become indestructible, but I think we can fade 2 draws from opponent. Oh man. Even have Reveler to refill our hand next turn if it gets that far. So opponent's not dead outright, but they have to block this hacker bat. Oh. Alright, well, good game, opponent. And that was pretty 1, 2, 3 easy peasy. That was a nice opening hand, a nice draw, and a nice way to finish off a 7-1. Definitely we got to see aspects of both Rakdos and the aggro style and being able to trade off combat battle and creatures in battle, knowing that we were going to get it back with Dead Revels. And then we got the Orzhov synergy as far as being able to use Afterlife to great effect for our different sacrifice spells or abilities. And then we got fairly lucky. I mean, we had a good mana base, but we never were really too screwed for too long, you know, except for game 1, which we ended up pulling out a really dramatic turnaround, an upset victory, and stole one from opponents. So let's see what our spoils are. Free to play still needs all of these cards, so ooh-wee. Nice little Hallowed Fountain, don't have to spend a rare card on that. And don't really care about some Ascendancy, and then I believe this came from our Core Set Mastery free pack. And Flooded Tear is not too exciting either, but hey, cards. Once again, we turned 5,000 gold into 950 gems and 5 packs of cards with a little bonus one from our track, which we finished up in time for this week already. Yeah, keep an eye out. This is going to come out, I think, yeah, after the second Heartpiercer Bow video. Heartpiercer Bow in Core 20 is very real. Check out my other videos for that. But then also look for another Allegiance draft, probably before this rotates out. Almost positive I can get another one out before that, and then we'll see what the next rotating set is and go from there. If you liked our content, please absolutely click the like button and the subscribe button. It tells the internet and the YouTube machines how to fit together when offering up my videos just to other people, so it does help a lot. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. All right.